Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys, brought to you by the Hockey Podcast Network. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a sports betting perspective. With pro handicappers Alex B. Smith and veteran sports writer Jimmy Murphy. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network. Wednesday, January 5th, Ian Cameron, Jimmy Murphy, ready to break down two games tonight in NHL action. Two pretty good games, though. Oilers and Maple Leafs, Blues and Penguins, who are two of the hottest teams in the NHL right now. That's your TNT game tonight. So a couple of really good games to talk about here on the Wednesday edition of the Ice Guys. We're glad you're all here with us, either on YouTube or downloading the podcast. Before we get to the two games, though, on Wednesday night, we got to look back at a very busy Tuesday night in the NHL. We'll start with the team that Jimmy covers, the Boston Bruins, who really, from an undermanned, depleted New Jersey Devils team, got everything they could handle from New Jersey last night. And the Bruins really escaped with a 5-3 win as they needed a David Pastrnak goal to break a 3-3 deadlock with inside 5 minutes left to take the eventual lead. And then they added an insurance marker, which New Jersey wasn't too thrilled about a slashing call not getting called on that. But nevertheless, a nice win for for Boston, 5-3 over New Jersey. The game still goes over the total. So for me, I still took a shot with the Devils, but the over gets there in that one, 5-3 final for the Bruins. How about the Florida Panthers? Extremely impressive, 6-2 over Calgary. Calgary didn't play that poorly. I think the biggest difference in the game was Florida capitalized on chances, and Bobrovsky outplayed Markstrom last night. That was the main reason why Florida got the win last night. But very impressive win for the Florida Panthers. When Joe Thornton's getting us a goal for you, you know it's been a good night for the Florida Panthers. And I think that was kind of a message here. And they had a nice article about it, too, out of Calgary after that game, saying Calgary, they've had a nice season so far, but it's almost like a wake-up call or an eye-opening experience last night that, hey, you're going up against a Florida team that really from start to finish has been one of the top teams in the league, and they got handled pretty well by Florida last night, and Florida with a nice 6-2 victory in that game. Tampa Bay, I mean, we're all over Tampa Bay, most of us on the show yesterday, Jimmy, Andrew, myself, Lightning puck line, Lightning team totals. I mean, we figured it was a good spot for them to bust out after losing 3 in a row, and they did just that with a 7-2 victory over the Columbus Blue Jackets. Korpisalo was not sharp. He hasn't had a good season, and compounding the fact is he hasn't played in a while either, basically coming off COVID protocol. So there's a good chance he wouldn't be at his best, and he certainly wasn't, and it doesn't help the blue line for Columbus has been really poor at times, was again last night. That's now back-to-back. You don't want to be on this list, Jimmy. Columbus Blue Jackets, one of the, I think, history making, that the team that has allowed 7 goals in consecutive home games. Not good for the Jackets. They did it to Carolina on Saturday and again last night to the Tampa Bay Lightning. Detroit with a 6-2 win over San Jose. I was on the right side there with the Red Wings. And all of a sudden, James Reimer's got issues. He's looked like nothing like the goalie he was before the Christmas break. He's been fighting the puck. The Jets beat Arizona 3-1. I thought Winnipeg would probably do more damage offensively, but they get the win there. Nashville with a 3-2 win against Vegas. Vegas made it interesting late, threatening to tie that game. Nashville hangs on. Anaheim beats Philly 4-1. And Colorado with a 4-3 overtime win against Chicago. And one of the goals of the year in the NHL. And Cale Makar, an incredible goal, individual effort. He basically gets the puck behind the net, spins to the half wall, basically does a spinorama to just basically completely puts the brakes on and leaves Kirby Dach, who was checking him, or at least trying to check him, in his dust. And then he goes roof job, forehand, backhand, top shelf to beat Marc-Andre Fleury for the overtime winner. Outstanding goal. Just as outstanding as the goal was the reaction of Kevin Weeks in the booth. I mean, you could just you could hear the reactions, just like everybody just marveling at the crazy level of skill that we saw on that goal from Cale Makar. And it's not the first time we've seen him display just this incredible ability to be a difference maker, even for a defenseman to be a difference maker offensively. He's one of the, Bobby Orr. There's some, there's definitely some Bobby Orr in his, like, we're not going to say he's going to have a career like Bobby Orr, but there's no doubt there is some of that in Cale Makar's game. His skating ability, his vision on the ice, his ability to make plays, his ability to skate and just make people miss. And then, of course, the finishing ability. You're not supposed to be able to finish like that underneath the crossbar, forehand, backhand like that as a defenseman. But Cale Makar can do that. Outstanding goal for him last night to lead Colorado to an overtime win. Jimmy, your thoughts on Tuesday night?
Sorry, I have me muted. I'm with you. I thought I'd see a little more from Winnipeg. I don't know if it was, we credit Arizona for tightening up and kind of staying with it there and staying in that game, or is it Winnipeg just sort of taking a night off and still getting away with a win? I don't know how you take that there. I think it's the latter a bit. And I wouldn't be too happy if I was Lowry, because that's a team that can't take any nights off. And if they do it against another team, chances are they're not coming away with a win. So a little disappointed in them there. But yeah, Tampa Bay, I think we all saw that coming. Great situational spot for them. They're going to start to bust out, I think, right now. They're going to start to get their groove. So I think as we go on here in the coming weeks, COVID permitting, they will become a bet-on team again after that little hiccup they had over the last 7 to 10 days. And, as for the game I covered and, I watch closely, New Jersey, Boston. I mean, look, we said it, Ian, if they had, we were worried they wouldn't get the over with all those guys out, with a Hamilton out, Heischer and Zach and all those guys out there. We were worried their offense might struggle, but man, their offense was still great. So imagine if they had those guys, I'd be confident in saying they come away with a win in that game. I don't think they necessarily deserve to lose that game. They kept going in there, and the Bruins, kept letting them back in. But I think it was a little bit like, the Jets with the Coyotes there. I think the Bruins sat back a little too much there, and they got away with one. I'm not discrediting the game they had. Their offense was great. But there was a lot of sitting around in the neutral zone and kind of freewheeling. And, maybe sometimes it's great to get into those games, but I don't think Cassidy wants that to become a regular thing for the Bruins, especially against the teams they're playing next, which is the Minnesota Wild tomorrow night, the Tampa Bay Lightning Saturday, and then the Washington Capitals on Monday. If they play the way they did last night against any of those teams, they're going to get blown out of the building.
Yeah, exactly. That was not thoroughly impressive against an undermanned, depleted Devils team for Boston to slide by the way that they did last night. No question about that. And I know, Jimmy, you were one of the many that was reveling about the just incredible display from Cale Makar in that overtime game-winning goal. Just outstanding. And, of course, the Twitter debate starts today where some people, wondering how great that. Can't we just say it was a great goal? Why do we have to rank it? How great it is. This I've seen better. No, it was a great goal. Just enjoy it for what it was. It was still one of the best goals I've seen this year in the NHL, and just an outstanding display of just overall skill, talent, vision. Just the ability to stop on a dime. And, it's just funny. And Alex P. Smith, our colleague, pointed this out to us that apparently in the post-game interview, you wouldn't have known that Cale Makar had any clue who Kirby Dach was. In the post-game, is like basically beat the guy who was playing D for them. I don't even know who it was, the name. And it was Kirby Dach. Hello, it's Kirby Dach. He's a pretty good player in this league, but goes to show you that Cale Makar just a little too good for Kirby Dach on that individual play.
Yeah, I liked Alex's reference too. Going back to Patrick Waugh and Jeremy Roenick there. Yeah. I can't hear you with all these rings in my ear. I found that GIF and actually tweeted that out. That was a great one by Alex. But look, first of all, we all knew he was going to be good because he came from UMass, Ian. I mean, come on. I telling you guys about this guy a long time ago.
They have nothing but good players there.
Yeah, I was telling you about him, and one thing is I'm watching him. The more I watch him, every single time I watch him, I really get mad at myself that I didn't take. And at the time when he was at UMass, I was living back, right around the Boston area. So I was about an hour and a half to 2 hours away. Now I'm literally like 20 minutes from the Mullins Center where UMass hockey plays. But I kill myself that I didn't, he was still coming to teams like Boston College and Boston University and Northeastern. I could have gone in and seen him play just to marvel at him, seen him in person. I kill myself as a hockey fan that I didn't do that, and it's actually, as I'm thinking about it, I'm going to do that more. I mean, there's a lot of good young players come up the college ranks. We've seen come out of there right now and look at what they're doing in the NHL right now. And so I'm going to take a little more time if I can to get out to some of these games and watch them. But I mean, that was just unreal. You can't blame Doc. And look, I asked Charlie Coyle today after practice, Have you ever been on the receiving end of a play like that and got duped like that? Or, what would you do if he's like, no, and I don't want to think about it because that's probably nothing I can do. I mean, that's just the way you look at it. So anyone out there blaming Doc right now, like, come on, give me a break. Nobody was going to stop that. Wayne Gretzky wasn't stopping Cale Makar there. I'm telling you. Connor McDavid wasn't stopping Cale Makar. Nobody was going to stop him there because nobody in the building knew that was coming. And that was the great part is if you go back and look at the replay, and if you can watch it in real time, watch how the camera couldn't keep up with it. The camera had no idea when he switched. There was a split second there where the camera kept going the other way and Makar had turned. So it's just, look, it was magic. And it's great to see. It's great for the game. And, for all those guys like my age and above who are saying, oh, those guys deserve to get decked and you don't need that fancy smancy hockey and the finesse, and they shouldn't be trying to punk people. Shut the hell up. The game definitely needs that. And, Coyle made a great point. He said, look, when I was growing up, he's talking about him, not me, obviously, because I'm 47. We didn't have YouTube. But he's like, when I was growing up, I did that all the time. I was looking at plays, and I'd save them, and I'd go out in my driveway and try them on a street hockey net. And that's what we're seeing now is these kids are bringing those driveway tricks to the NHL, and it's working. And I think it's fun, and it's going to attract a lot more younger kids into the game.
Yeah, and everybody loves it except John Tortorella, the likes of that. Of course, who was very critical of Trevor Zegras' lacrosse pass to Sonny Milano a few weeks ago.
He was being a contrarian, Ian. That's what I think. That's just him being him. That's all.
Stir the pot, too. I think he likes that. I think he thrives on that, especially for television. Say Rex Ryan does that.
That's why he's there.
Yeah.
To be that old cranky man.
A lot of you people out there, I know a lot of fans and probably people in the chat room here probably think John Tortorella is the biggest asshole in the world. You know what? He's an asshole as a coach, but that's why he's been successful. Yeah. But I know the guy off the ice and away from the rink. Yeah. John Tortorella is one of the best people in the game that I've met in my 20 years covering the game. Yeah. I don't know if you know.
He's a dog lover.
I've heard some great
Anyone
stories.
Who loves dog is fine with me. Anyone who loves dog, but just the stuff he does for that and how active he is. He's not just doing it for show. He does a lot of charity back here in Massachusetts. He's from North Shore, Boston. So, I hope he gets another job. He gets one more chance there in the NHL.
Yeah, definitely. But I like John Tortorella. Nobody's going to want him on television if he's not going to say something that gets people interested. Right. That's what Rex Ryan does the same thing for ESPN with the NFL coverage. He said a couple weeks ago, they were talking about Baker Mayfield's struggles. He says, I know what to expect now from Baker Mayfield. 3 interceptions and about 8 commercials, he said. Yeah. This is a great line. Yeah. But that's what you want. You want someone that's going to be a little bit funny, entertaining. And if they say something a little bit controversial or they call someone out, they're going to, that's why Rex Ryan's good for television. Say what you want.
We know. I mean, Rex likes to put feet in his mouth. So it's a good thing.
That's right. He does like to do that as well. No doubt. Andrew McInnis is with us now on the Wednesday show, joining us as well. Andrew, just some overall thoughts on last night. We were talking, of course, about obviously the highlight of the night was the Cale Makar goal for Colorado. Just an outstanding individual effort by a tremendously talented defenseman who just keeps getting better.
Well, first and foremost, Ian, nice haircut, man. Looks good.
Oh yeah.
It's in the comment room there too.
Yeah. Nice. It's about time. It was getting long, way too long. Yep.
Man, I feel like you just gained a few more years, man. You look younger.
Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah. I'll take any of them I can get. Any years off the life. Yep.
I mean, we learned that Florida's still good at home without a couple key guys. We learned lots of different things last night, I guess, but Colorado, that was unbelievable. Yeah, that finish by Cale Makar. I don't understand how anybody can downplay that. And it's all about the edges. It's kind of the new thing. Sidney Crosby, I've actually been at skating sessions in the off season with him and Brad Marchand working together, and some of the younger players like Shane Bowers at the local forum in Halifax. Those guys, all they work on is edges. You think they're shooting the puck together? They can shoot on the puck together by themselves. They don't need to do that. They're working on edges, offense, defense. Unbelievable goal there by Cale Makar. I thought it was great to see, but it was a chalky night. I had a feeling it was going to be a chalky night last night. I cashed my my best bet parlay on the show, and if you two-team or Boston, Winnipeg, Tampa Bay, Colorado was a bit of a sweat, but it was a chalky night. But we got there 5-3. The overs continue to do well in the NHL, but we'll see if that can happen tonight. I've got one prop for tonight. It's plus 125. You can get it at DraftKings. Looking forward to sharing it on the show. So Not a lot of action for me today after yesterday was a pretty, I really liked a lot yesterday, but don't love the card today, but we'll try and find some winners.
Yeah, it's only 2 games, and I think both are a little bit tricky. Even this one, we'll start with Edmonton and Toronto. We've got the Toronto Maple Leafs minus 290, even minus 300 in some spots. Home favorite, 6 the total. And there's been a massive adjustment in the price since early this morning, where it was around minus 210 on the Leafs, and now we're seeing almost a 90-cent move on the Leafs, and it's all because of the issues with COVID-19 that have unfortunately hit the Edmonton Oilers pretty hard. And it's not just Connor McDavid, who, as we found out yesterday, tested positive for COVID-19. But now all of a sudden we're finding out it's more than just him. And of course, McDavid's out tonight, but also Tyson Barrie, a defenseman in COVID protocol, out tonight for the Oilers. You've got Ryan Nugent-Hopkins entering the protocol as well, or on IR for, actually it's an injury for him, but still he ain't going to play tonight. You've still got the likes of Derek Ryan and Chris Russell on the blue line out. So missing a couple key pieces. You're talking about Nugent-Hopkins. You're talking about Connor McDavid, obviously, and a key defenseman too, and Tyson Barrie, who has played pretty solid this year for the Oilers. So, you're concerned definitely about this with Edmonton, a slumping team that's lost 4 straight going into this one against Toronto. I was so impressed with the Leafs Saturday night against, I know it was Ottawa, but for them to be as crisp and sharp at both ends of the ice, it wasn't just offensively, but defensively. I thought their defensive game, to be off that long and to be rock steady like that defensively, was terrific. They didn't give Ottawa much. They had the puck all night, the Leafs, against the Senators in that game Saturday night. Very impressive first game back after a long hiatus for the Leafs. 6-0 shutout over the Ottawa Senators in that game. Now, they had their own scare going into this game with Austin Matthews, but he's had 2 negative PCR tests the last couple of days, so he is now okay and given the green light to play tonight for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So good news there on that front, as really the only absence for the Leafs. And look, they'll miss him. It's Andre Kasha, but everybody else is going to be able to play. He's out due to something injury related for him, so he won't be in tonight. But other than that, it's all hands on deck for the Leafs. They're a pretty healthy hockey team. Look, I'm not going to take Toronto minus 290, minus 300. No way. I mean, even with Edmonton struggling, they're depleted. I said the other night against the Rangers, you'd think you're going to get a great effort from the Oilers. I actually think you did get a solid effort, but every little mistake they made ended up in the back of their net. And it started with Mikko Koskinen's misplay and gaff behind the net, handling the puck. And it just, they couldn't overcome it. They're going to go back to Mike Smith tonight. Of course, Mike Smith has looked pretty shaky, to say the least, in his first few games returning from injury. The Devils game wasn't great from him. The Blues game, he didn't play well either in that game. I would lean Leafs team total, but here's the problem. It's minus 160. I'm not going to lay a juice that much on a team total over 3.5. I think the only value that I could see, if you like Toronto, and it's a small bet for me in this game, what have we seen from Edmonton lately? Slow starts, giving up the first goal, and in every game they've played since the break, 4 games, New Jersey, St. Louis, the Islanders, and the Rangers, they have been behind after the first period. They have been trailing after 20 minutes. I think you just go with that. Take Toronto minus 0.5 in the first period puck line. I think that's the one that has the value, and we have a performance pattern that clearly indicates in the last 4 games that Edmonton gives up the first goal, falls behind in the first period. I mean, are we really going to see evidence all of a sudden of that changing? I say, don't look for evidence of that changing until you actually see it for yourself. So like I say, Edmonton, they have been trailing after the first period in each of their 4 games since returning from the break on this road trip. And you can get Toronto here minus 0.5, plus 120 in the first period puck line. So I think that would be the one bet that I'm interested in this game tonight with the Oilers and the Leafs. I'd lean over as well, because I'll say this, Toronto's 2 unders. There were 6 goals in those 2 games that went under. And every other Toronto game recently, other than those 2, have gone over. And the 2 that stayed under were 6.5 totals. And you still got 6 goals in both of those games. And the total is right on 6 here at about minus 120. So I would certainly have a small bet over the total as well. But Toronto puck line first period as well. Jimmy, what do you think here, Oilers and Leafs?
What I think is, I was just reading before I got on here, Elliot Friedman's, 32 Thoughts he does every week. And where was it here? He was saying that this is the last game that they have in 12 days, the Oilers, coming up. And I think right now with the state of that team mentally, right, where they're just a mess, right? And nobody knows if the team's given up on this coach. And they're probably just looking at this like, let's just get no McDavid. I mean, let's get the hell out of here. They're going to mail it in tonight. So I'm going to double Jimmy puck line on the Leafs here. Leafs -2.5.
Wow.
I think they're going to throttle this team. I think this team has given up. I really do on Dave Tippett. And to see Dave Tippett walk back his comments today and all that about what happened, what he said about Koskinen the other night, that clearly tells me that somebody above him told him, you need to retract that. You need to shut up. You can't say that stuff. And so now that tells me that there's some division between him and maybe Holland or people above him. They're a mess. And I think this is the last time we see Dave Tippett behind the bench for the Edmonton Oilers is tonight.
Wow. And so not only that you like the Leafs -2. So let's unpack all of this. Whoa, Jimmy threw a lot of grenades at us here. Toronto -2.5, +150. Let's start there. Toronto's going to win. Toronto's going to win by margin. And that this will be Dave Tippett's last game, and it'll make a change after tonight. Wow. Jimmy going with all of that in this game. You're right. He was retracting his comments just as Mikko Koskinen speaks to apparently Finnish television locally back home and says, talking about how, I got to play better, but I can't score goals. We've scored, 7 goals in the last 6 games?
I love that. I love that he said that.
I love that, but then he says, I don't like getting thrown under the bus. Yeah, you just threw your teammates under the bus, though. See,
I'm with Andrew. I'm with you. I like that, but Ian's right there because he's kind of being.
He's bitching about being thrown under the bus. You just did that to your whole forward group and anybody that you.
But to me, the difference is he didn't say, "Well, our third line has done shit all." He just said, "In general, we haven't scored." So that's he didn't point. That's 12 guys that haven't scored that many goals for him. Instead of just being like, "Yeah, it's the goalie's fault when you lose the game, friggin' 4-1." How the hell is it the goalie's fault when you lose 4-1? How can you win a game scoring 1 goal?
But Ian, how much confidence do you think that team? I mean, Andrew, how much confidence do you think that team has in them right now? In Koskinen? None. Yeah. So if him going publicly like that just tells you they've given up on each other, like they don't give a shit what they say right now. And to me, that's
he's defending himself.
There's a splintered dressing room right now, no doubt.
Yeah,
but I think the players would also agree. I mean, players don't really.
No, he's not wrong.
Yeah. The players aren't going to come out there, and if they were to clap back, they wouldn't, because if I guarantee if somebody does a job like you do, Jimmy, said, "Hey, what do you think about what Koskinen said?" He'd probably say, if McDavid was asked that, he'd say, "Well, we have to help him out more."
Yeah, you're right.
Don't you think? I think the players would say he's right. You're right, though. It's not really a good chemistry thing to say that, though.
Right. I've been around dressing rooms a lot, and there's things that, when they get said, it's a red flag of where the state of the locker room is. And obviously it's not good there right now.
But would you also agree that Tippett saying that would also piss off the players? Because that's our fucking goalie, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I'm trying to say, guys. I think that Tippett and Koskinen, like, things have gotten so bad that they don't care about the repercussions of what they said. Because
did you see what he said about his job security, though, Jimmy?
Huh?
Did you see what he said about his job security?
Yeah.
He's like, I've got a good relationship with Holland. Like, we're, you guys are all seeing the fire. We're in here trying to put out the fire.
Yeah, okay.
I was like, dude, what are you, the mayor of Ontario? Okay, you got to settle down for a second, because I don't think that's going to work out, or the premier, because there's a lot more of just a little bit of a fire to put out in Edmonton than just
best friends fire best friends all the time in pro sports, man.
Yeah.
It's just a business,
Yeah. So great job.
That might have been a bad analogy to use, Ian, for right now, what's going on.
Definitely.
People are pissed.
Yeah, no doubt. Everybody now, you can see it. I mean, Dave Tippett's feeling the heat and he's getting frustrated and saying things, publicly. Mikko Koskinen is now. And if I'm Koskinen, and this goes back to what I said yesterday on the show, it kind of feels like every mistake you make, Dave Tippett brings it up in public. When Mike Smith does something bad or he sucks in a particular game, where's the reprimand? Where's the criticism from Dave Tippett when Mike Smith screws up and he has a shitty game? Where is it? I don't hear it. Has he ever said anything really, really bad about Mike Smith? Very rarely. I mean, that's his buddy. Like I said it yesterday, they've been through a lot going back to the Coyotes days about over a decade ago. They've obviously they've got a good relationship. But still, if you're going to be critical of one goalie and say it publicly, you got to be able to say something negative about Mike Smith giving up, some soft goals against the Blues and the Devils, which he did in those 2 games last week. That New Jersey game, I can't believe some of those goals he gave up. They were poor. And yet you didn't hear anything from Dave Tippett about Mike Smith. Not a peep about Mike Smith's play after
Look
that
at what
loss
James
to New
McInnis
Jersey.
said in the group chat here.
Yeah.
Dave tipped it. He tipped it over. Yeah, he tipped something over.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like puns like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like the Oilers ship might be tipping over here if this
Yeah.
losing streak continues much further.
Don't mess with Ian on puns.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Take you to school.
yeah, that's
That's
right.
his
I'm
thing.
the pun king, no doubt about that.
I
All
saw
right,
you
Andrew.
with a few
this is-
dad jokes on Twitter, though, Jim. Yeah, I saw you tweeting a few
Oh,
dad
yeah.
jokes a little bit. I'll keep it short and sweet. You know, it's been we've seen some high scoring games in the NHL since the return after that little week pause. I like the under in this game, under 6. You can find some 6.5 if you shop around. You know, I always say that in the NHL in general, out of NBA, you know, NFL, so many sports, I believe that depth is so key in the NHL that if you lose one player, it shouldn't make or break your whole night. Well, I think the steam and the line move has definitely told you missing one of the best players, if not the best player in the world, is going to make a big difference, obviously, for the Edmonton Oilers that have probably the least amount of, you know, spread out scoring, I'd say, in the league. Give me the under in this game. My favorite play of the night, though, guys, it might seem like an obvious one. Leon Draisaitl over 3.5 shots plus 125. When they played against the Rangers, I got McDavid over 3.5 shots at minus 125.
Yeah.
Now we don't even have McDavid, and somehow I'm getting Draisaitl at a plus 125 price. This guy's going to be like, geez, who the hell else is out here to score goals? It's just me. I bet you if I could pull the Andrew puck line, except for on a alternative shots over, I'd probably do it and find a way. But unfortunately, you can't. DraftKings over 3.5 shots. Really like that. That's my strongest play of the night.
Yeah, I mean, he's actually gone under 3.5 shots in 8 straight games, but this is a different situation here for a Draisaitl tonight, and that, you know, there's no McDavid. There's obviously going to be even more onus on Draisaitl to shoot the puck more, be aggressive offensively. The one prop I bet, it's the obvious one for me because I always like the angle of the former player on a team going back, especially going back home, because Zach Hyman is a Toronto area kid. Now playing this, remember the earlier meeting was in Edmonton this year between the two teams. This is the first time him in Toronto now back for the Oilers. And look, if you're going to pick someone other than Draisaitl, who's going to score for you if you're Edmonton? Zach Hyman's a pretty good candidate. So plus 210 on Zach Hyman to score a goal tonight. That's the one I'm going to be looking at here. Again, just that, you know, old adage of, you know, the former player coming back home to the Scotiabank Arena for the first time. Playing his former team. Now, he played them in Edmonton earlier this year, but this is his first time back in Toronto. And I would be I wouldn't be surprised, I should say, if Zach Hyman has a pretty solid game, has a bunch of chances, and has a chance to put the puck and find the back of the net tonight. So that's the one I like. Andrew liking Leon Draisaitl over 3.5 shots there at that plus price in this one. All right, we got St. Louis and Pittsburgh. This is your TNT game. And it's good to see TNT with an earlier start for a change. And now you're going to see this more often now that we're into January. They're going to have earlier games on Wednesday nights and a lot more double headers as well, TNT. So lots to look forward to with the TNT package moving forward. And by the way, TNT guys, they're going to have Sunday NHL games nationally televised after the NFL season ends. So once we get into February, March, April, you're going to see Sunday national TV games on TNT. So I like that. That's a good thing as we get to the home stretch of the regular season. So now the TNT package is picking up steam now starting tonight. This is a good game, by the way, St. Louis, Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh minus 130, home favorites here, 6 the total in this game. This one's a difficult one for me. I don't feel like actively wanting to go against either of these teams. I'd lean to Pittsburgh ever so slightly. They're at home. They've won 8 in a row. And is there a potential not letdown for St. Louis, but they just have the thrill of the lifetime playing in the Winter Classic. That's always a big moment to be able to play in that game. And they get the nice 6-4 win over Minnesota. Are they ready to ramp it up again here tonight and play this Penguins team? Tristan Jarry now was removed from COVID protocol, but he is not going to be starting tonight. It will be Casey DeSmith once again for the Pittsburgh Penguins tonight in net. Binnington, of course, for the St. Louis Blues. What a wild one with Pittsburgh on Sunday. As someone that had Pittsburgh in regulation against the Sharks, that one got way too close for comfort for my liking on Sunday. A 6-1 lead at one time for Pittsburgh, ended up 6-5, 4 unanswered for San Jose, but Pittsburgh hangs on, gets the victory 8-5 in that game. I'm really impressed with both teams right now. The Blues have certainly been a freight train of late. The Penguins, of course, have as well. So it's just one of those games. The total's in a good spot at 6. Pittsburgh to me right now is still, I think, going to want to dumb it down. See, I think this could be potentially an under, maybe even early, a first period under potentially, because you got to think after a crazy pond hockey game like that with Pittsburgh, what was it, 8-5 on Sunday, it's probably going to be onus on being cleaning up the issues the Penguins had at times in their own zone in that game. So this could end up being one of those first period underlooks and maybe a live over, and it'll open up. That's actually the way I'm probably going to approach this game. I don't have an official play on it before it starts. I like the way both teams are playing. I don't really want to rush to go against either of these teams at the moment. So right now, I would probably maybe look first period under, and then maybe a live over after that. Maybe things start to get going a little bit offensively between these two teams. But it's important to note, I mean, with the St. Louis Blues, they've got way more offensive depth than they've had in the past. And right now you're seeing just so many different players playing well offensively for them. Perron, Braden Shen is back now for the St. Louis Blues as well. Tarasenko looks like he's revitalized. Jordan Kyrou's been excellent. Buchnevich, who they got from the Rangers in the offseason, has been a difference maker and an extra option and an extra weapon offensively for the Blues. So there's a lot to like with how their ability to put the puck in the net right now. So that'll be put to the test, though, with the Penguins obviously been pretty stingy defensively prior to San Jose, but prior to that, they had been pretty good defensively. We'll see how this one goes. I'm passing on a side, just a small opinion of first period under, and probably maybe look at a live over after that. Jimmy, your thoughts here? It's a good one on TNT, Blues Penguins.
Yeah, it is a good one, and I'm not sure any of us would have thought that when we looked at the schedule when it came out earlier in the year. Or the season before the season, but look, credit to both teams. I don't know, I don't want to insult them by saying overachieved, but I think they've definitely surprised everyone around the NHL. And the St. Louis Blues are not the St. Louis Blues team that I saw in person beat the Boston Bruins in the 2019 Stanley Cup Final. That was a team that was more like the LA Kings in the early 2000, the Boston Bruins in 2011, north-south, really banging hockey, get you in the corners and just old school type hockey. This team is speed, man. This is a fast team now. And, you bring up Cairo there. He's just been unreal. And that will go to one of my bets right there. I like him to score a goal. You can get some good value on that still, despite the fact he's one of the hottest players in the NHL right now. Look at what he did in that Winter Classic. He was something else. And then, I like a Rodriguez prop as well. You look at the Pittsburgh Penguins right now, these are guys that we weren't really talking about coming into the season. I think a lot of us, myself included, would look at it and saying, they're kind of trying to stretch out that veteran core. But all of a sudden, those young guys that seem more like role players have become more top 6 forwards for them and top 4 D pairing. So I think it's going to be a great game. I'm going to stay away from the side. But I am going to, I get that those props there. I'm going to do a first period over, and then I'm going to take an over in the whole game.
See, I agree with the chat sentiment that Casey DeSmith is a concern. He's not as good as Tristan Jarry. But here's the thing with the Penguins. They've been very good defensively. They're coming off a rare shoddy defensive game against San Jose. I think the emphasis is clean it up tonight in terms of the defensive play. And when you look at Jarry's numbers, his goals against and his save percentage are very good, but his goals saved above average numbers are mediocre. And you know what that indicates? It indicates that he is not facing a ton of high danger chances for the Penguins. They are playing well in front of him. He's making the routine saves, and Pittsburgh's allowing him to see the puck, make the more routine, easier saves. He's not facing 10 bell chances night in and night out. And I think you're going to see Pittsburgh really try to play that way tonight because, look, they know they kind of got away with it against San Jose. And if they play that way in front of DeSmith, it's going to help DeSmith out quite a bit, like it's helped out Tristan Jarry this season as well. So, like I say, this is a this is a tough game for me. I mean, sometimes that's okay to not have a strong feel on a game. This is it. It's a great game to watch, and I will be, but it's a trickier game for me, challenging game. From a betting standpoint to come up with either a side or a total in this one. Two teams playing really well at the moment. Andrew, what do you think here, Blues and Penguins?
You guys are getting me a little worried here, and hearing Jimmy 11 goals makes me a little nervous because I like the under in this game. So They say not to let other people talk you off picks, but when I'm going last in this order here, it kind of happens a little bit. But, the funny thing is that I'll point out about the Pittsburgh Penguins, they're a team, guys, that I've actually bet 12-1 to win the Eastern Conference. I like this team. I like their defensive capability. And I kind of wanted to go to the bargain bin, so to speak, when I was looking at my futures the other day. But one thing is, look at the teams they've played recently, right? We always say, you can only beat who's in front of you. That's true. But look at the teams they have played recently. The one good thing, in 8 of their last 10 games, they've only allowed 2 or less. So 2 goals or 1 goals from their opponents. So I don't care who you're playing. That's still impressive. And then they kind of had that performance against the Sharks. So that's kind of the reason why I'm looking at it. And then looking at kind of the performance that we saw in the Winter Classic from the Blues and the Wild out there in the freezing cold. That was a sloppy game, turnovers. That was, we use the expression pond hockey as a joke. That was Jordan Kyrou wide open, 4 feet in front of the net. You just don't see that in an actual NHL arena like you would in Winter Classic. That just doesn't happen. So I'm on the under 6. Like I said, guys, this isn't my strongest card the past couple of weeks here since the NHL has been back. But I do like the under a little bit here.
It should be interesting to see how this goes. Keep in mind the Penguins tonight. It looks like in terms of who's going to. I like the Rodriguez prop that Jimmy mentioned. He's definitely been noticeable lately. A hat trick against San Jose, 6 shots on goal in that game. He had 9 shots on goal a couple games ago against Buffalo. Just the last 3 games that Evan Rodriguez has played, he's had 16 shots on goal in those last 3 games combined. So he is definitely getting opportunities for the Penguins. So looking at props involving him, definitely I could see the reason for it. And again, you're going to get pretty solid value for him considering his spot in the lineup, currently slated to be, it looks like right now on the for the Penguins tonight. We've got him on the second line with Brian Boyle and Kasperi Kapanen. Looks like that's going to be your second line. Gensel, Crosby, and Rust, of course, as always. The top line for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Great stuff with Andrew and Jimmy. Just 2 games on the slate tonight. We'll have a busier card to break down tomorrow. So hopefully you join us for that right here on the Ice Guys. Big slate coming up tomorrow. We're looking forward to that for sure. And in the meantime, before we wrap up the show, we get to best bets. We, of course, want to remind you about DraftKings Sportsbook, official sports betting partner of the NHL, and with us here at THPN and the Ice Guys, new customers can bet just $1 on any NHL game and win $100 in free bets if either team scores. Someone will light the lamp, so get involved with that. If DraftKings Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, you can still play for huge cash prizes all season long with DraftKings daily fantasy hockey contest. DraftKings giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code THPN. Throw down $1 on any NHL game and win $100 in free bets if either team scores a goal. That's promo code THPN this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. Must be 21 years of age or older. Must reside in a DraftKings Sportsbook state. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit and $1 wager required. 1 per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Download the DraftKings app. Sign up for an account. Use the promo code THPN. All right, slim pickings as it is. We still have best bets every day on the show, and we'll see what we can come up with here from the 2 games tonight. Jimmy, we'll start with you. What do you like for best bet for Wednesday?
Yeah, guys, I'm gonna go with that over in the. I know you guys are more on the underside, but I'm feeling goals between these 2 teams just because of the speed that both of them can present and put head to head. And what we've seen, we mentioned it off the top too, is the over is the way to go so far in these games back from the COVID pause. And while these guys aren't missing as many people and not so much people that would produce offense, look, you look at each team having to adapt all the time, shift their lines around, and it's hard for them to get in a groove. And sometimes that affects you more defensively than it does offensively. And I'll see that continue tonight with the speed that these teams can present. So give me that over in St. Louis, Pittsburgh.
All right, over the 6 here, St. Louis and Pittsburgh. Best bet for Jimmy Murphy in this one. And by the way, we're now up to 28-15 with overs since the break ended. So 28-15 when it comes to overs across the NHL. That's full game totals. 28-15 to the over since the break. That's 65%. Now, obviously, it's going to level off at some point, but definitely 28.
I don't know, guys. Think about where we might be when these guys come back. Get to the point where, I mean, look, I know the Bruins, looking ahead at their schedule, heading into last night, they had to play 54 games before April 30th if they want to complete the schedule on time.
Yep.
How are those legs going to be by then?
They're going to be like
stretch there. I mean, are you kidding me? Those defensemen are going to be skating in quicksand. Yep. I think the overtrend's going to get even bigger as we go on here.
And if it does, it's just going to be a question of, the odds makers have the gumption, as Darren Pang would say. And I think he's on the broadcast tonight. That's one of his words, TNT, gumption, from Darren Pang. Our odds makers going to have the gumption to jack up the totals if they continue to trend. Or we're going to see a 7 at some point. Or we're going to see more 6.5s. And we haven't even really gotten to that point yet. We've seen more 6s and certainly still see the odd 5.5, but more 6s now. Will we see more 6.5s? Will we see a 7 at some point if it keeps going this way in terms of win percentage to the over? Interesting question moving forward. And or will teams finally figure it out a little bit more defensively now that they get more games under their belt after the Christmas break and as they get healthier from getting players back from protocol? But all of that's a big if right now. We'll only know by watching it how it unfolds over the next couple of weeks.
Teams might want to fall, you're right there, because if the coaches start to be like, we can't be allowing 5 goals, 6 goals a game, they're going to really enforce the teams to stay within their structures, right? And they're going to start to do that trap and neutral zone trap, what have you, where it's a more defensive structure. So maybe you're right. Maybe that just forces teams to clamp down. We'll see.
Every single time we start to see a bunch of 6.5s pop up, no joke, that's when you start to switch your bet to the under. It happens every single year.
That's
like, oh, wow, the books are getting 6.5s. No, we're still going to see goals. And then everyone gets crushed. That's what happens every time.
This is different, though, man. I don't
that would put this to the test, what we're seeing right now. But I get it. 6.5 is usually the time you want to jump ship and look the other way if you've been betting more overs than unders.
How many over 5.5s land on 6, 4-2? 5-1. How many over? I wish I had that data because it's
6 ends up on a 4-3.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
6 is such a common final result for total goals in a hockey game. Yeah. It's really insane to see how much that happens. Yeah, we all love Panger's great. Darren Pang is one of the good, great people, and holy jumping. How do you not love that? He's one of those people when you hear him, you smile. He's always so jovial and
that's like me with Ray Ferraro. I like Ray Ferraro. He gets a lot. I don't get how he gets some hate, but I like Ray.
No, there's no way anyone should hate Ray Ferraro. He's one of the elite, analysts in the NHL. That's why ESPN paid the big bucks to bring him to their network.
Yeah, I'm not just saying it, guys, because I'm his buddy. I know Kevin Weeks well, and I've talked with him about this. I didn't know if maybe him doing color commentary was going to be the best thing. Like I think he had found his niche. In the studio there.
Yes,
I think
good
he did a great job there. And we had that but I'll tell you, for a a moment that people are going to talk about forever and a play that we're always going to see, and for him to adapt in the split second that he did in describing that McCarr goal right after, I thought he did a great job.
Breaking the play down. Yeah.
Because that's really hard, man. I mean, if
he was like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah, you're not expecting that, and to be able to adapt and analyze it the way he did, I thought Weeksy did a great job. So kudos to him.
No, he's good. He's good, and he was one of the first people at Hockey Night in Canada to let go because of their financial. They're bleeding money, they're hemorrhaging money, and he was one of the few first people they let go because of the issues Rogers is having with that an astronomical contract they signed for the NHL and TV rights and. They're paying the piper for. They've had to let go like dozens of people, at least a dozen, if not more than that. It's amazing.
What the good news is? I'm starting to see a lot of the people that were working for Rogers. Yeah, they're getting hired by betting companies. Which is great. Like even Natasha from TSN. That's obviously not Rogers.
Kiprios.
But they're getting
Kiprios was
exactly. Yeah.
No, there's a
anyway.
bunch of them.
I got to go. I'm getting a haircut just like Ian actually. But my best bet is that prop over 3.5 shots for Leon. So. Best bets, guys, were horrible for me when I first came back with you guys, and lately they've been rolling really hot. So we'll keep it going.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to go through ups and downs with those, no doubt. But right now, a good run for Andrew, like in Leon Draisaitl or as Don Cherry called him, Leon Dresskull, over 3.5 shots on goal for a best bet tonight in this one. My best bet, look, I don't love it, but I got to give something. It's going to be Toronto -0.5, +120 first period. Look, Edmonton's been trailing after the first period in every game since the return from the break on this road trip. So Toronto gets
the league, I believe, right?
Yep. They've been trailing after the first every game. Devils, Blues, Islanders, Rangers, all 4 games trailing after the first period. So Toronto -0.5, +120 first period for me for best bet. That'll wrap it up. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Hit the like button on the way out. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. Download the podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Jimmy Murphy and Andrew McInnis, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Wednesday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. We'll talk to you again tomorrow on Thursday for another edition of the Ice Guys presented by the Hockey Podcast Network.